Andy Warhol. How did that happen? Well, this is in 1979, and I had my Nikon F2AS camera with a 50mm portrait lens, and I used to go out with my friend, and she and I would go out and we'd photograph scenes around Los Angeles, some of the people. I was very shy, so the camera actually helped me get out and about. And I noticed in the LA Times there was a small announcement that Andy Warhol was coming to town to help his friend Wally Amos celebrate the 4th anniversary of the opening of his first retail store at the corner of Formosa and Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood. Wally Amos was the founder of Famous Amos Cookies. He was Famous Amos. And Andy Warhol and Wally Amos knew each other because both of them were involved with famous people. Wally Amos was actually the first African-American talent agent for William Morris Agency, and his client, he signed Simon and Garfunkel, and his clients were Diana Ross, etc. So he was dealing with a lot of famous people. And of course, Andy Warhol was famous for his saying about everyone being famous for 15 minutes. So they were good friends. So I decided, well, wouldn't it be great to go to that place and see if we can't maybe photograph Andy Warhol, probably from a distance. And if nothing else, there'll be a lot of interesting people to photograph there because of all the Andy Warhol people with pink hair, which was totally unusual back in 1979. So we went, and I get there, and there's 500 people literally already there. And Andy Warhol is about an hour late. It's not shown. And so I went over to Wally Amos and I said, Mr. Amos, where will he be pulling up? And he says, well, right outside here by the side door. That's where he's scheduled to show up. He should be here soon. You have to remember, this is before cell phones or anything else, so there was no way to know when he was going to arrive. And I go out to the curb and I stand there, and right then Andy Warhol's limousine pulls up, stops, the door opens, and out comes Andy Warhol. I take my first photograph of him, and he has a big smile. He smiles at me. He then has a camera in his hand, and he took a photograph of me. And then his bodyguard comes around, gets out of the car, and this crush of people are coming towards the limousine, and the bodyguard says, everyone stand back from Mr. Warhol. Please give him some room so we can get to the building. And Andy Warhol looks at me, and he says, no, this young man is fine. Of course, I was back then. And so I was able to be with Andy Warhol and continue to photograph him. And that's how it happened. And so we went into the Famous Amos store, and I continued to photograph him. And he didn't talk much with me at all, but he did take direction. At one point, we were outside next to a chain link fence because he was walking around. And I said, Mr. Warhol, I would love to get a profile. And he turned and he let me get a profile photo of him. There were a couple of things he did like that. So I continued to photograph him and was standing right next to him at the table while people were coming up one at a time to sign interview magazines. He was signing interview magazines. And the rest of the people were at least 20 feet to 25 feet away from him. They didn't allow a crowd around him. And I found out later that, he was really paranoid not paranoid, but he was very cautious around people. He didn't really like people that close to him, although he and Wally Amos were very close and interacting a lot. Because 4 years prior, some crazy deranged person actually shot him and he almost died. So they kept the people away from him. But yet I'm right there with a 50mm portrait lens. I didn't have a telephoto. I had to be as close as you see that I am to him in the photographs that you're seeing today in the museum, and taking those photos. The press were there in great numbers, and they were also kept away. But yet I'm taking photographs of him right there, and I was, as I said, sort of shy. I became very self-conscious that I was going to be in every photograph that everybody else was trying to get of Andy Warhol. And I thought, well, boy, these people are here. They have to be here to earn a living, to take the photograph of Andy Warhol that they need to run that evening in the newspaper or the next day. So I said to Mr. Warhol, I said, thank you so much. I'm going to go back to my friend. He just nodded and didn't say anything. He barely spoke to me. And I went back to my friend, and he was signing, as I said, these interview magazines. And I thought, it was like printed on newsprint, like a newspaper. And I thought, this is going to fade after time. And I definitely did want to get his autograph. And I looked up, and across the street there was a Mayfair market. This is how long ago it was, 1979. And I told my friend Terry, I'm going to go over there and get some Campbell's soup cans. That's what I want him to sign. So I went over there, left the crowd, went over, and they had 6 cans of tomato soup, Campbell's tomato soup left, but 2 of them were dented. So I bought 4, 2 for my friend Terry and 2 for myself. And I paid for them, obviously, came back to the store, to the famous Amos cookie store, and then dutifully stayed in line and worked my way up to the front. And when I got up to the front, I put the 4 cans on the table. Andy looked at me, went like this, and started doodling on them, and then he signed them. And he did 4 of them. I gave 2 to my friend Terry, and I kept 2. She actually got the best 2 that I gave her. And that was it. And then everybody saw what had happened, and all of a sudden the crowd got noticeably thinner as people started going over to Mayfair Market, and they basically cleaned out all the Campbell's soup items. So cream of tomato was gone already, the cream of mushroom, I think they were down to cream of asparagus, that people were waiting in line to get up to the front. And the first person that had done that finally gets up to the front, and Andy Warhol stands up and he says, I am signing no soup cans. That it was that young man's idea. And that's it. It was just the 4 cans that got signed that day. Now I went outside and I photographed, the other people that were there that had gotten all dressed up for Andy Warhol. It was a lot of fun, models and other people. And went home and then sent the film off for developing. I had bought, back in those times, I used to buy the film in bulk. It was very inexpensive to buy like 50 feet, and then I had a bulk loader and I'd load my own cans. It was, the cheapest way for me to do it. I was a student, and that's how I did it. And however, what I didn't realize is that the film that I had was not processed correctly when it was sent off. And so when I got it back, it came back orange. It had shifted orange, everything, which meant that I could not print it even in black and white because there was no range of tonality. So that was a huge disappointment, because here Andy Warhol had allowed me to hang out with him and photograph him, the only person that he allowed that. And I had let him down. I let myself down. I felt so bad. And so that film, the negatives, just stayed in a drawer from 1979 until 2017, when I met Nordine Elwari, who's a master printer, also a very gifted photographer, who had printed for Herb Ritz, Matthew Ralston, George Horrell, and considered one of the top printers in the world. And I told him my sad tale of woe about how I photographed Andy Warhol and I blew it, And he said, Lou, not to worry. He says, there's technology now. You come over, I will scan them in, and within 2 clicks of the button, you'll have your color back. I said, what? And so that's what happened. We went over there, we scanned them in, and all of a sudden, Andy Warhol appears in full Technicolor. It was fantastic. So then I worked with Nordine to create the Andy Warhol project, Project Warhol, which you're seeing today. And many months of work with Nordine, trying to have actualized the vision that I had in terms of how I wanted to present Andy Warhol, because of course I did photograph him in a crowd situation. But like in real life, when you're with somebody, you see their face and everything else recedes into the background. And so working with him very closely, I think we definitely got to a place where I'm very happy with the outcome. So, Nordine.
Yes.
We've been working on this project for quite a while. I remember when we met at Sunny Box Barbecue. A mutual friend of ours brought us together because we both knew George Horrell. Why, tell us about...
Oh, first of all, we knew each other way before then. Thanks to Sunny. She was an amazing photographer herself. I loved and admired for years, still do. brought us into that time. And I think it took a little while for you and me to get together after that. But once we got this project, we started talking about, resurrecting some images and doing something artistic. That's when, the ball started rolling.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I knew you from back in the day because you were the rock star printer, printing for Herb Ritz, George Harrell. I mean, all the great photographers from that time period, and can continue to print for these well-known people. And so when she introduced me to you, I knew who you were. And it was amazing to meet you. And of course, very honored that, we've been able to work together and, help. Problem is, you remember when we first got together, I told you the fact that I had photographed Andy Warhol, but in my time I worked for a time, as a freelance photographer back in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
But these images that I shot, when I got the film back, it was completely orange. And you said, I think we can fix these.
Yeah, I remember that because the film was bulk film and it had shifted, wasn't processed correctly. And back in those days, film was very expensive.
Yes.
Only the most accomplished photographers, with some serious financial backing could shoot a number of rolls of film, on a daily basis. So for us, it wasn't, it was more economical. But at the point where you showed me those negatives, I knew because the image was there. It is just how do we extract this image without, we do justice, just think it through, which brings me to say that, working with several photographers way back, it has empowered my vision to be able to collaborate. And I think that today, the power of collaboration is just as prominent as it is in any creative process.
Absolutely, yeah.
We all kind of depend on each other for ideas, so that you can do something and think outside the box and put it in there with all the scales, with all the trimmings and everything. And I think that this exercise with these images was just outstanding, man. The way it turned out in the end, and because most of the times you and I sat and I let you talk. It was more like trying to tap into your vision that you have inside your head.
Right. That's
really hard to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes we surprise ourselves. We're doing something completely off base and it just works, So, but the fact that we experimenting with different images, different looks, different stocks of paper, different mediums in order to see the range.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people do that. They just stick with one thing and it goes like that and that's it.
No, I know, but we tried different things and it really.
Yeah, some of it.
Till we found something.
Some of it didn't work and it was okay, because you can't have everything stick.
Yeah.
But the fact that we could do this today, with this technology that we have at hand, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's another tool in the toolkit. Project Warhol then expanded. I had taken about 20 photographs of Andy Warhol and we were able to print them. And then a very key person for me is Gino Perez, a dear friend of mine, gifted painter, who had been very encouraging me to pursue my art. And I'm an assemblage artist as well, and he enjoyed my work, and he didn't know much about my photography because I really never talked about it. I did work for a time in the late 70s, early 80s as a freelance photographer. It was one of 3 jobs I had to help pay my way through graduate school. And but anyway, Gino had been always encouraging me to go forward, and for a while he actually came over to my studio and was painting for a while and encouraging me to stay with it, keep going. And I thought, boy, I wonder if he'd be interested in collaborating on this Project Warhol. And my idea was to print my images large on canvas and then have fun with Gino at his studio. And that's what we did. Here we are.
Hey, Lou.
Can you believe it? Here we've been working for 2 years in secret.
Yeah, finally, right? I thought the day would never come.
Here
it is.
On this project.
Yes.
I must say, thank you, Gino. You're the one who really encouraged me to do my art. And I remember that summer you came over and you painted over at my place.
Oh, yeah.
When you were still living out in Highland Park there, and you came, you were painting out in the yard and on the driveway.
Yeah.
And you were encouraging me as I was doing some of my assemblage art. And
yes.
So thank you.
Yes, you encouraged me too, though. I mean, when you came with me with this project, I was like, hey, come over. I got some pictures to show you. I'm thinking like, okay, cool. Show me Andy Warhol, Couldn't believe it. Did you think about painting over a couple of these? No, really? Of course. Yeah, that was an honor for you to ask me.
No.
Yeah, that was great.
I absolutely wanted to have fun with you and see what you did. And oh my gosh, we had a lot of fun creating these.
Yeah. How long did you do it? 2 years now?
2 years.
Yeah, since that first day.
Yeah.
Yeah, with painting at your house, yeah.
That was fun. And then over at your place,
yeah,
that was fun, having them up the canvas on there and seeing you do that. It was really fun working out what the painting was going to be, seeing your creativity and how it just came about, and watching you paint. So much fun. But how we would do the test, we'd have the idea paintings first. We'd start out. Well, you could talk about that process, you
just brought you'd bring the strips over, and then you'd do some samples, some little doodles, ideas, and then we'd make them big. I mean, it's so easy. Me and you worked together so well.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a challenge. It was just fun.
Yeah.
It was all fun.
I would say that's absolutely true for me too.
Yeah, right.
We were usually laughing our heads off, although it was work and we worked and we were very serious about what we were doing, but it was always fun.
Totally. I mean, from the first one you brought, it was kind of intimidating, but then you're like, hey, just do your thing, It's like, okay, all right, cool.
I said, yeah, you can.
Then it just all came out, just like any artist would probably say, oh, just all flowed out, but it really did.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So what do you think of the installation here?
Looks amazing. I can't believe it. All together. I haven't seen them all together at all.
That's right.
I see one at a time.
Yes.
Hey, Lou, we finished this one.
I've kept them secret off to the side.
And then off to the side, some are hiding in some vault. But yeah, wow, walking up and seeing all this is just incredible. It makes you feel like you really created something substantial.
Well, we did.
We did, yeah. Like all
and
of
with
us.
Gus and
Gus,
with Nardine.
Oh, yeah.
So it was.
It feels like
all my best buddies.
It feels
my
great.
buddies.
Like it's all together. You're just like, wow, what a
my
collaboration.
Best buddies.
Yeah. And everybody's so good at what they do. It was just, I was talking to him about the photos and how he processes it. I was like, wow, it's all above my head. Every little picture, every little shade of black, and it's amazing. It's amazing. That's a whole other art in itself. So you're getting a lot of art here when people come see this. You're getting a lot of dynamic. It's not just, hey, cool. Yeah. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys are more established and, but I feel like
I'm
I feel like, maybe, hey, I'm getting there. But that's great. Good. Thanks for having me.
Oh,
it's amazing.
Thank you.
It's really, really fun to see them framed. And, when you frame them and when they're flat, it's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gino, wait, look, you're going to see till when they're framed. They look great. All right, Lou, then bam. It's like upgrades it so much.
Yeah.
They look amazing. And the sizes are perfect.
Yeah.
I love painting big like that.
Yeah, I know.
My arm, I usually paint with my arm, not my wrist.
That's how these big ones happen because, I wanted you to have fun with large canvas.
That was cool that you mentioned that, to go big. And once you said that, I was like,
you were like, yay, in the candy store.
And these are all my palette. This is all the colors I use. So it's perfect.
Yeah.
So I think it complements too for the era and the style I do. Yeah. Really complements Andy Warhol, I think. It's just my opinion though.
Thank you. Thank you, Gino. Let's have more fun.
Let's eat. No.
Gino and I worked on this project for about 2 years. And then about halfway through, I was talking with my friend, fine art painter Gus Harper, and he was really excited to hear what we were doing. And I showed him a few pieces and I said, do you think you would want to collaborate on one of these, a couple of these? And he said yes. And so we ended up having a lot of fun collaborating on some images. And it was really interesting to see how the two fine art painters, interpreted what, their interpretation of what was going on and creating the art. And I'm very happy with the outcome. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I mean, I loved your art. I collect your art, and as I do Gino's art, and we got to know each other.
Yes, well, we became friends first when you curated my show.
Yes.
So that's how it all started. And then you were the one who told me to go to Thailand. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
So you encouraged me on that trip.
Encouraged you to travel.
You encouraged me to travel, which turned into, that was a big trip. And then a year later, I did it all over again. As a matter of fact, a year later, that's when I took off for 2 years. So we've known each other for a while.
Yes.
And then you encouraged me to travel. I made pieces while traveling. I brought them home. I had a show. You bought some of the paintings.
Yes.
It just went out from there. And then you came up with your glorious Warhol idea, which I guess had been in your head for a long time. But that's when you invited Gino and me to collaborate.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's how it started, I think.
Yeah.
So it started with you in 1979 when you met Andy Warhol.
That's right.
Yeah.
And had an opportunity to photograph him.
Yeah.
And then flash forward all these years, and here I have a chance to have some fun with you and, have Andy Warhol in your studio for a while there to live
cool.
with. That's
that was actually one of the bummers, though, is like I really liked having this piece in the studio. And so when you took it out there, I'm like, oh, because everybody came in the studio, they're like, that's cool, that's different. I'm like, it is different. It's not just my work, it's mine and Lou's. So it invigorated my studio while I was in there. So that was cool.
Thanks.
So it's good to see them again, some of the other ones. And by the way, I'm very honored to be in the same show with Gino too.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I dig his stuff.
Well, yeah. And mine with you, I'm glad we're all together.
Yeah, it's a cool team we got going here.
Yeah, it is. No, and Nordine and his,
And I like that you gave credit to Sunny Bach.
Absolutely. Sunny Bach put us all together.
She's a big art social scene connector in Venice. So.
And also, as you did, encouraged me to do my art. She really encouraged me to do my art and has been very supportive of me.
Yeah, she's very inclusive. So
yeah, she's
good job, Sunny.
Amazing. Thank you, Sunny.
Hope she sees this. Hope she comes to the show.
Yeah. And of course, she's a terrific photographer in her own right. Has quite an interesting story.
That's right. And actually, when I went on that trip, I was wearing her Beastie Boys shirt.
Really?
Like the whole time. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's lots of pictures of me stomping around Nepal wearing a Beastie Boys shirt.
That's pretty funny.
Sunny Bach Beastie Boys shirt.
Yeah.
Gotta get another one.
Yeah. Yeah, so.
The process of how we made the piece?
Yeah, why don't you talk about that?
Okay.
Because my only instruction to you is enjoy Andy.
Yeah.
And our working together was a little different.
Yeah.
I said, I love your work. If you could come up with something, so he's coming through the matrix.
Right. You introduced me to the idea, but you didn't tell me what to do.
Absolutely.
You gave me freedom, of course, which was so nice because you're an artist and you get that. But it's an interesting thing is like when you work with somebody else, there's for me, I don't know, like Gino's so good at being loose and carefree. I think that's the magic of his work, and I love that. Would always like to have that in my work as well if I could. But when I work with somebody else, especially like you in this situation where the medium is a photograph on canvas, there's a part of me that quite simply doesn't want to fuck it up. Because if I put something, if I put some brushstrokes, over his face, there's no going back.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to, it's an honor. So, but at the same time, I was thinking, okay, let go of that attitude because that's a tight attitude. You want to like be free.
Yeah.
So I think I was able to kind of let it go, and then when the first one started coming together, then I'm like, hey, this is cool. Let's do another one. So then it started coming out of me. So
yeah, no, it's great. I so so was happy to be able to do something with you. I was so honored that you were interested in this and that we could work together and do this. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, super
We
cool.
could do some more stuff at some point in the future.
I would like that. And congratulations on the beautiful assemblage pieces that are also on display.
Thank you.
Because those are
Very proud of that work.
very heady, very interesting pieces. So good job.
Yeah. And I thank Toby Smith, who's the curator of this show, and
Yep,
for
she did
her
a good job, especially downstairs. That's
Yeah.
cool. I like that.
for her belief in me and giving me my first show. Which
Yeah, it's
this
pretty
is.
amazing to say that after all the work you've done. And look at all these beautiful pieces. Very cool. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. I thank Nordine Elwari, Gino Perez, and Gus Harper for this wonderful collaborative effort. And I want to also thank my partner, Mike Salazar, for his support and encouragement, as well as Toby Smith, who's the director of this museum and the curator, for her belief in me, encouragement, and her support. I'm Lou Delia. Thank you for watching.